Hello friends, just first of all, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking and telling you guys about my testimony. So I am making this video on a Sunday and I'm kind of proud of myself for doing that because the last couple weeks I have been slacking off with it. But today, one, I wanted to get back into the routine of doing it every Sunday, and two, I really felt like this was going to be a week where I would slack off until Saturday when I was forced to make it, because this is a bit of a more sensitive topic. And I'll tell you, as I was like getting my hair done and getting dressed and everything for this, I considered not doing it. I considered changing the theme. I considered making up a testimony. But I'm like, that would be against what I have been teaching. So I'm being honest with you guys and telling you that I wasn't sure if I wanted to do today's video, but I'm gonna do it. I'm going to be brave about it. And so don't judge me if I need to stop for a second to find the right words. Again, this week I have no notes, so I don't have anything to go off of. It's all up here, and I guess we're just going to be doing that until the next couple of series. So, and this week and next week we're probably not going to have any notes, but that's okay, because I'm just excited to share my testimony. I haven't really shared it with many people, but I got the idea from my Bible class at school. We had to write out our testimony, and our teacher helped us write it. So I am using that for notes, just to kind of get the good idea of where I'm going with this. But other than that, I have no notes that I made specifically for this video. Okay, here we go. So I have 3 pages of notes from my school assignment, but I have a feeling that I am not going to be using all of this. I will have to change some of the details because I did say what church I go to and what school I go to in this paper, so I will change it up a little bit. But I'm just going to use this for references, so let's get started. When I was younger, so it's important to know that I have always grown up in a Christian family. Both of my parents were Christians, and they were both raised in Christian families. So we have the core Christian values in our home, right, ever since I was born. So we were good, strong Christian household. We always prayed before bed and before meals. And my dad even had this one prayer that he always said with me every single night that I was at home since I was a little baby. And I'm 13 now, and so we've been saying the same prayer for 13 years. But recently we finally got into the routine of taking turns every night, praying and saying something different. So like that is a milestone. But anyway, I'm getting off track. I went to church as soon as I was like old enough to go. I was in the baby church, like the little toddler groups where we learned the Bible stories, and you had your crackers and you played with the other kids. And then as soon as I was old enough, I moved up to the big kid church where we did Bible stories, we read out of our Bibles, we got stickers, and that was like the biggest deal for me. I still have my King James Version Bible that I had when I was like 6, and it has a bunch of my stickers from the church that I went to in there. We did go to a church for a long time. My parents thought that it was good. I just always thought the church was boring. I thought that it was a waste of time. I never really looked forward to it. I mean, maybe when I was a little kid I did, just because I had that socialization that I wouldn't get otherwise. But as I got into like my school years, when I was like 5 and 6, it just became boring, and we kind of stopped going to church until I was probably like 8 or 9 years old. So there was like a little 1-year period there where we really weren't going to church when I was like in 1st or 2nd grade. And then I started going to a different church with my grandparents because they lived right up the street from us. So every Sunday morning they would come and pick me up. So I'd like be out in our driveway, and I was like in 2nd or 3rd grade here, and they would come down our hill and pick me up in their car, and I was all dressed up in my church clothes, and I'd have my Bible, and they'd take me to church. And we did that for probably 6 months, and then finally my parents were like, this is ridiculous, we're gonna start going to church as a family. Like, they didn't want me to have to like text my grandma every morning and be like, hey, remember to pick me up this morning, I'm coming with you today. And so they finally decided they're gonna come with me, and so we all started going to this church, and we are still going to this church. We watched our online service at this church this morning. I love it so much. It's so much better than our old church. But the point is that until I was about 11 years old, until about 2 years ago, church was not fun. It was boring. It was a waste of time. It was something that I thought was for grown-ups, because, you know, we'd be standing there like, okay, our parents are talking with these people that they went to high school with, and I have no idea who these people are, right? So that is just crazy. It was just like, oh my gosh, we can't get out of here, please let us leave. I think the only thing that I liked about that church was that my cousins went with us, and that was like basically the only thing that I liked about it. But when they stopped going to that church, I was bored. As I got older, into probably like 4th grade, I've honestly been struggling with anxiety my entire life. I've been thinking about it the last couple weeks, and really I started to notice like a change, like that it took a different form when I was in 4th or 5th grade. I figured out that it was anxiety about a year ago, but I have been able to date my anxiety back to when I was 5 years old. That's how long it's been. It's been 8 years, I think. And so it's been 8 years of having anxiety that I can date it back to. But as I got into kind of like tween age, preteen age, it got worse, just, you know, with having other girls to compare myself to. And I'm just a fearful and worrying person in general. I'm scared of a lot of things. I've conquered a lot of those fears in the last couple of months of quarantine, but I still have fears, and that's kind of what a lot of my anxiety is connected to. So I am going to stop right there for a sec, and we're going to go back and kind of do a little timeline. So obviously I've known about God my whole life. I have been a Christian since I was a little kid. I accepted him into my life for the first time when I was like 3 years old at our church that I don't go to anymore. When I was 5 years old, I went to a Christian preschool that was within walking distance of our house. So yeah, I went to a Christian preschool. My brother went to that Christian preschool. And then when I was 6, I started going to a Christian school. And I still go to that school. But I don't remember, obviously, accepting Jesus into my life when I was like 3 or 4 years old, because that was a very long time ago. The first time that I remember doing it was when I was in kindergarten at my Christian school. Being as young as I was when I asked Jesus into my life, I didn't really change my life that much to show him in my life, because I was like 6, and I didn't really fully understand how I had to change myself. I was a little bit too young to understand some of the concepts in the Bible. It was just, I didn't do much about it. Like, yeah, I was a Christian, and if you knew me, you would know that I was a Christian, but if you didn't know me, up until I was about 11 or 12 years old, you would not have known what religion that I was. You would not have known that I was a Christian if you didn't know me personally. As I got into upper elementary school, which in our school, since I go to a private school, is 4th and 5th grade, because they're technically in the middle school building. That's called upper elementary. And so that was really when I started trying to change my mindset a little bit, just because I'm like, okay, maybe I should like lean a little bit more into the religion thing. But nothing really big happened until I got into middle school a year ago. middle school has not been the most amazing experience for me. I think that the end of my 6th grade year, I'm in 7th grade now, once we got into quarantine, really was like probably the best experience of the in-person part of middle school that I have had so far in 6th grade. Was not fun. Online experience has been phenomenal. But the beginning of 6th grade was not amazing. I had a couple of friends. I had one friend that I reconnected with who I had known since kindergarten, one and two new girls, and two people that I knew from 5th grade. So I had a couple of friends, but 3 of those girls were in my class, the one that I reconnected with from kindergarten and the 2 new girls, because in our 6th grade, it's weird. We have 3 teachers, one that teaches science and math, one that teaches English and reading, and one that teaches Bible and history. And we had our homeroom, so we went to different classes, but we traveled with our homeroom. So we were still with the same class, but we went to different classes. We were with the same kids that went to the same classes. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's kind of like an intro to middle school. It's weird. But that was how 6th grade worked. And so there were, so the 3 girls were in my class, and I made really good friends with one of the girls, like, immediately. It was that morning. I got to school right before the bell rang, so I didn't really have time to talk to anyone, but so math was my first class, and then I headed off to choir, which was one of my electives, with that girl, and we just, like, immediately started talking about choir, and I was telling her about our choir teacher and choir class, because I had taken that elective in 5th grade, but, like, we just immediately started talking, and we became best friends, like that, like, so fast, we became best friends. I really did feel like she was, like, gonna be my best friend forever. Sadly, we are not really great friends anymore. It was crazy. Our friendship lasted about a year, but it is mostly because of me and because of the changes that I have made in my life since we started quarantine. I think also it has something to do with the fact that she is at in-person school at our private school this year, and I am doing online, so she has a lot of homework in the evenings, whereas I am able to finish it all up during the day. But I just remember that God's got this. So when I started changing my life more was June of 2020 was when I really, like, kind of remember the first thing happening. We were on a camping trip on the coast, and I was just anxious. And being anxious has its physical tolls on me. It makes my stomach hurt, and it's hard to breathe. It makes me lightheaded. So being anxious is not very fun for me. But I remember I was just, like, an anxious mess this day, but, like, nobody knew it. I was with my parents in the car. My brother was riding with my grandparents, and I was just like, my gosh, please just stop. I didn't even know what I was anxious about. I was just anxious. And I had already discovered a method to help with my anxiety, and that was praying. But for some reason, my brain was crazy. I get anxious sometimes when we go on trips, even though I love traveling, which kind of sucks. I was just like, oh my gosh. But then we're listening to the radio, and we're, like, driving along the beach. Not the beach. We're, like, driving along the water. So we're not on the beach, but we're, like, the pier is right there. So we're kind of, like, driving along the pier, I guess. And a song comes on. I won't say what it is for copyright purposes, I guess. But a song came on, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And so, like, the song came on, and I was just like, it all went away really fast. Like, as soon as I started listening to the lyrics in this song, it just, like, all went away. And I was, like, so grateful. I almost cried, but I didn't want to because we were going to this outdoor museum, and I was, like, really excited about the museum, and I also didn't really want my parents to see me crying. We were in a public place. I didn't want people in public to see me crying. I didn't want my grandparents to see me crying because they don't even know about this anxiety stuff. So I like kind of held it back, but like it was really hard, you guys. After that, so that was, I couldn't do much. Well, we were there because I didn't pack my Bible, I didn't pack any of my devotionals on that trip, but as soon as I got home, I was like, alright, we're gonna do this, we're gonna grow in our religion. So the next event that really kind of set it all into motion, because I kind of like slacked off on being, like, getting right into my religion, was 2 weeks later, the first week of July. I was supposed to go to summer camp for the week, overnight, but because of COVID, it got canceled, and so I was instead like, oh, let's just like have a 3-night sleepover, 4-night sleepover, whatever, with my friend. And so that was the friend that I aren't super close with anymore. We still are friends, I guess. But I was like, let's just do a sleepover instead. So she's over at our house, and we're out there, like in my backyard with a tent, because we were like, it'd be fun since we were supposed to be at summer camp to do some tent camping in our backyard. So it's like probably midnight to 2 in the morning, anytime between there, and I'm like so tired, so I like lay down, and she's like, stay awake, and I'm like, find an interesting topic for me and we'll stay awake. So she like starts saying random words in the hopes that something will intrigue me and we'll start talking about something. And she starts talking about religion because she used to be Catholic. And so I was like, okay, I could stay awake for this. So we ended up talking maybe for 2 more hours about that. And that next day, as soon as she left, I was like, I was talking about religion, and she's like, well, how do you, like, see it in your life? And I was like, I don't know, because I was, like, trying to get her to be a stronger Christian, and I'm like, I don't know how you would be able to see it in my life. So the next day, I'm like, wow, I realized that I'm really a lukewarm Christian, and so I was like, I gotta get going with this, like, I better become a better Christian. So, changed my life completely. I started this channel in August, I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was August, like August 30th or something, but so now we're going on about 2 to 3 months. And so I'm just so happy with the changes that I've made in my life, but I'm going to tell you guys that my anxiety is still there. It's not just something that can be solved immediately. I still have anxiety, I still have stress and fear. I get stressed out about school, I get scared to do new things sometimes, and I get anxious about everything in life. But being a stronger Christian it helps so much. And I was really nervous to make this video. I said that, but I'm just going to tell you that a couple weeks ago, just to give you an example of how much it really affects my life, I don't know why, but I was just like busy with other stuff in my life, and I drew away from God for a couple days. I just like didn't read my Bible, I didn't really listen to any Christian music, which is like a huge part of my life, and I just like didn't really pray that much. Worst week of my life, you guys. I was anxious, I was worried about everything. Because I was anxious, I didn't want to eat, so I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I was like, why am I so anxious right now? And then I'm like, oh, it's because I drew away from God, and I'm never gonna do that again. I've changed my life in a couple different ways, a bunch of different ways actually. I have definitely drawn away from some people on purpose that aren't very strong Christians and don't have a great influence on me. I have been reading my Bible more, praying more. I really stopped listening to secular music. I remember I was at my cousin's house a couple weeks ago, and we were driving in their van because they have 4 kids, and so they have a big like white van, and we were driving in their van with the radio on, and they were listening to whatever the secular station is for music out here, and I was like, I haven't listened to this music in forever, and I was like surprised that I still knew the lyrics to all the songs, but also kind of like disgusted with myself that I was like saying the words that these songs were saying all at the same time. And so, but just, there are so many ways that I've changed my life, and so next week we are going to talk more about those ways. I scratched the surface today. I shared my testimony with you guys that the basic way to say it is, grew up as a Christian, was really a lukewarm Christian until about a couple months ago, changed my life completely. That is the basis of my testimony, or the basics. I said that weird. But being a Christian has changed my life, and if you aren't a super strong Christian, I would encourage you to grow more, because it's so amazing. And especially with Christmas coming up, I started hearing Christmas music on the radio, you guys. It's a thing now. Christmas is a big holiday for Christians. So now would be the perfect time to get moving on that. We are going to do a Christmas series starting on I think this is the 22nd of November. I'm looking at my calendar. And so we're going to start that on the 22nd, and we are going to be talking about that. And I'm so excited for that series. I've been planning it since October, for a couple weeks now. And it's going to be fun. We're going to look in the Bible. We're going to talk about how you can celebrate Christmas as a Christian. But thank you for watching my testimony. Parts of this were very hard to say, but I said it, and now it's out there for the world to see. Am I going to be freaked out about this later? Probably. Am I going to get anxious about this? Probably. But am I going to let myself stay anxious? No, because I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to listen to my Christian music, and it's going to be awesome. I'm going to fix it, and it's going to be good. So I hope that you guys have a great day, that you will feel the Holy Spirit, that you will find many blessings in your life, and that you will continue to grow in your faith.